Okay, we're continuing with the fiction block, and right now with us we have Gregory Kasunich with the movie The Heart of Texas. We're gonna watch the trailer right now.
It's dark tonight in the heart of Texas. Jesus can't hear me out here. It's faded blue jeans and star-spangled dreams ain't worth all the blood spilled tears. Just wanna roll as far as I reach down the line with my heart in my hands. It's dark.
A really emotional movie, and in this movie there's like a huge and big moral dilemma, I would say. First, I want to ask, what is the meaning of behind the name Heart of Texas?
For anybody who hasn't seen the film, I'll just kind of explain what that moral dilemma is. We don't give it away in the trailer, but the story follows this woman. Her name is Janie. She's an aspiring singer-songwriter in Texas, and on her way to a life-changing radio performance, she hits an immigrant, an undocumented worker in Texas, mortally wounds him where he's almost about to die, and he's resisting any sort of medical treatment and any help from the cops because he's afraid of being found out and deported, and he wants to stay in Texas to support his family. So that's the core of the moral dilemma. And the Heart of Texas, it comes from a phrase which is from a song called Deep in the Heart of Texas, which is like a famous song in Texas. And the Heart of Texas it's sort of asking a question, like, what is the heart? And in the Heart of Texas is kind of like the heart of the United States on a much bigger level. Texas kind of operates as a microcosm for the rest of the country, but it's very much its own thing. And so is it ambition? Is it music? Is it people from other countries who come and support the economy and work there? Is it law enforcement? I mean, all of these aspects are at the heart of what it means to be Texan and what it means to be American. And I think it asks a much bigger question, like, what is the heart of America? And sort of that's what we were interrogating in this piece.
In the end, she still goes to this casting for the audition after everything that just happened to her, to follow her dreams. Do you think that she can pay the price for her dream after this happened?
Yeah, so in the film, she ends up hitting this guy, and she gets away from her car. He escapes, and she ends up getting back in her car, and she still can make it to the radio station. So she goes there, and we don't know what happens to him at the end of the film, and we don't know what happens to her after this interaction. And for her, if she wins this competition, she's going to be doomed for the rest of her life to sing this song that's sort of, emotionally connected to this experience. So forever, if she wins, she's going to have the guilt and that story as part of her winning. If she loses this competition, then what was it all for, right? She went through this horrible experience, hurt this person, kind of got away with it, and yet her life has not changed at all. And so I think it's really up to the audience to decide what they think happens.
Yes, that's great, because it's an open finale for the viewers to think what might happen to the victim that was hit by her, and also to her. She goes through really emotional catharsis, I would say, and what thing would change inside of her character after this? How would she act maybe further in the future?
Well, I think we kind of hinted that in the film. At the beginning of the film, she works at a restaurant, and she doesn't really, she works amongst, people who may or not be undocumented, who work in the kitchen, which is very common in the US, especially in like California and Texas. And she like literally bumps into a guy and is like, doesn't really see him, doesn't acknowledge him, kind of is like, who's this guy? And at the end, she's back in that radio station and has a similar experience where she sort of is in a daze, and she runs into somebody, and she says, "I'm sorry, it's my fault."
The cleaner.
And she acknowledges that. And so I think that, like, unfortunately, I think a lot of times it takes a really powerful, shocking thing to happen to people to have them wake up and see, like, what's
to rethink your, what your opinion on some things.
Exactly, and just to see people for who they are and the humanity of people, even though they're part of your world, you may not recognize them or acknowledge them. And so she, I think, if nothing else, she at least has learned that lesson, that everyone is as American as she is.
But do you think she can live further with the guilt?
I don't know. Stay tuned for the feature film, which we are working on. So.
Oh, great! Yeah. Is it gonna be like continuing this story, or is it gonna be based on another story, but also like maybe on this aspect or other aspects? Tell us more.
It's this story, but with a lot more depth and a lot more characters, and a lot more of this story.
Great, thank you really much. If we have some questions that others want to ask you that we haven't discussed, if not, we're ending it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have one.
Oh, we have a question.
One question.
I'm sorry. There's the open mic.
Okay. Well, I'm from Europe. I'm from Slovenia, and most films here are made with like stately financed or you self-finance. In America, that's the difference, right? That you self-finance. So I was wondering, production-wise, how you get it done, and also very specific like details like shooting, police, and permits and stuff like that, because in Slovenia you cannot do this really. I mean, it's very strict, like shooting police or shooting on the street or shooting like that.
I'll make my answer as quick as I possibly can. I'm running out of I feel like I'm on the Oscars. Like, thank you. There's a timer. So first, yes, I self-financed the whole thing. But because I direct commercials for a living, we shot that whole movie in 2 days. So I tried to be as efficient as possible. We did receive a small grant from the Waco Endowment for the Arts through the Waco Independent Film Festival. And the cops, we called them up and said, hey, we want you to be a part of this. And so that's the actual sergeant of the Waco Police Department. It's not an actor. So he joined, he shut down the streets for us. And then he was also in the film. And it was really cool because our actor is a first generation Mexican-American. And this guy is an old school cop. And they're sitting on the set together and they're having a conversation while eating snacks, which is something that's probably not a conversation they would have had we not made this film. And that's, the power of art, right? So hopefully the film also acts as a opportunity for people to come together, just like the story of the film. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.